Hi, I'm the Private Man, but you can call me Andrew. This is the third of my video podcast series in about the last week or so. I've been very busy. Now, before we get into today's topic, it's a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, I want to thank my Patreon subscribers and my donors. It makes a really big difference to me and helps motivate me to keep the content flowing. I really, truly appreciate it. And I've added a couple of links, one for the Patreon and one for my blog, so we can continue that process. And again, I thank you. I also said that I'd be doing shots from different locations. I'd like to do some outdoor shots very soon. However, it's August in South Florida, and when I have good light, it's about 127,000 degrees outside. Oh, with the threat of rain as well. So I'm gonna be kind of doing the same basically shot for another 2 or 3 videos. I've got a friend I can call. Maybe we'll do something in the evening when the sun's gone down a little bit, where I still have the light and it's no longer 127,000 degrees outside, or the threat of raining. Anyway, let's get into today's topic, and it's how to request a date. Now, I've written about this before, but those are just words. I think perhaps having a video podcast would be another way of presenting some of the same type of information. And I can also talk about tone of voice and show tone of voice, etc. Now, before we get started really into how to request a date, we need to get some of the nomenclature straight. And I mean a date. I mean where a man and a woman get together to determine if there's chemistry or romance or the possibility of going on to more dates. A lot of this has to do with the man's relationship goal. Maybe he wants a long-term relationship. Maybe he wants to try to seduce a woman on the first date. To me, any of a man's relationship goals are valid, as long as he's not hurting too many people, and as long as he's working to fulfill himself and doesn't sacrifice too much of his own needs just for the sake of having this particular date. Now, there are some prerequisites here. There's any number of ways to meet women. The most common, it seems, is online dating. We've got Match.com, Plenty of Fish, OkCupid. One that I've been using recently is OurTime.com. For the folks into the whole mobile application thing, we have the infamous Tinder. I'm doing some research on Tinder, by the way. I may have to sign up for a Tinder account to see what's going on with that. Because Tinder's tied into Facebook, it requires that I create a new Facebook account and put some pictures there and pull those pictures across from Facebook. I do have a Facebook account. I rarely ever even look at it. Frankly, I'm rather suspicious about Facebook. So online dating is certainly a way to establish communication with a woman. Another way, of course, I've talked about this, is the Meetup.com singles groups. I like Meetup.com singles groups because that is, well, basically a group of singles getting together. If you're unfamiliar with Meetup.com, I strongly recommend you go on the internet, go to meetup.com, go ahead and create a profile, and find some singles group activities in your locale. Now, of course, the bigger the city, you're likely to have more options in terms of singles groups. Smaller cities and rural areas, I don't know. And if I've got people who are looking at my content who are in more rural areas, please let me know. I'm very curious. I might even make a blog post or a video podcast about it. So Meetup.com is definitely a way to go. I like it very much. I do encourage it. Make sure, guys, that it's age appropriate. If you're in your 40s or 50s and you go to singlesmeetupgroups.com, singles meetup groups through meetup.com that are for people in their 20s, you're going to be like the old man at the nightclub. Don't do that. Pick something that's age appropriate. Now, here in the Fort Lauderdale area, the Meetup singles groups are quite popular. I've been to several where there's at least 100 or so single folks attending. They go to concerts, they go bowling, they do something like well, frankly, as mundane as walking in the mall. But I get email notifications almost daily, and I think, a member of 3 different singlesmeetup.com groups. Another way to meet women, of course, is just out and about. Going to a restaurant, going to an event, going to an art gallery opening, going to a bar, hopefully not a low-class bar, but sort of a high-end bar, hotel bars, or here in South Florida, we have something called the Blue Martini, which is a chain, relatively upscale. They have good happy hours. So that's another way to meet potential dates. The skills for meeting those dates is a little bit different than, say, a singles group, because in a singlesmeetup.com group, well, guess what? Everybody's single. Okay, so guys, you have a way of meeting women. Now, when it comes to requesting a date, there are a couple of prerequisites involved. First of all, if you're doing the online dating thing and you're only exchanging texts, you're only doing instant messaging via the online dating site, or you're doing emails, I don't recommend you actually request a date via that particular electronic medium. You haven't spoken to this woman yet, and if you're meeting only online or you're dealing with this person only online, you certainly haven't met them in person. One of the escalation factors is if you meet them online, escalate to a phone call. You want to hear her voice. You want to hear, and she needs to hear your voice as well. You want to get a sense of social skills. You want to get a sense of how well she communicates. You can also tell a lot about a person, about how they carry themselves, even over the phone. That is a fairly reasonable medium in order to request a date. Again, don't just use an email or a text or an instant message through the online dating website. The technology simply does not allow enough nuance and subtlety to come across in the communications that you have. So if you talk on the phone, you're enjoying the phone conversation, might as well strike when the iron is hot. The same thing as if you're meeting somebody in person. You're having a good conversation. You can sense that the woman is showing a degree of attraction sufficient for you to go ahead and request the date. Now, if you're in person, it takes a lot of learning to understand a woman's signals. Men are not good at reading a woman's signals. Now, women think they're sending out not just signals, but they've got a megaphone in their hand, like they've got a 2x4 and they're beating the head over the shoulders and neck, indicating that she wants to have a date with the guy. Guys just don't know this. So guys, if you're meeting in person, look for some of the body language. Now, I've included a link to some basic body language tips and tricks. I got it from the Roosh.com forum. Roosh is a rather polarizing figure, but his forum does have some good information posted by the Roosh forum members and some good stuff. So I've tweeted it out already, and I'll go ahead and put it in this video. But if you go to the Roosh V forum or Google it, and then do a search for body language. And there's an excellent post there that's about, I guess, 3 or 4 pages long. It's bullet pointed. It's got some very good descriptions. I forgot the guy who wrote it. Okay, now we get to the nitty gritty. Now, a lot of guys, they ask for a date. Would you go out with me on Saturday? Okay, it's kind of like sales. If you give them the opportunity to say no, they will say no. They might be wildly attracted to you, but women are very cagey. They're very concerned about their security. You and her might be having a great conversation over the phone or even in person. She's still going to have some degree of anxiety about this. That's okay. That's built into a woman's nature. They're very concerned for their security, their physical security, their emotional security, their financial security. This is something men really don't understand. So the best way to request a date is not to ask for it, is to assume it's already going to happen. You state the date. And here's the line that I've used with great success over the last few years. I look her in the eye. I might even touch her forearm. And I look at her and I say, you know, I'm really enjoying this conversation. You and I are going to have a date. And call it a date. Don't say hang out. That doesn't mean anything. That's for the 20-something crowd. Let them deal with that nomenclature. For adults post-divorce, it is a date. You're setting expectations early. I'm enjoying this conversation. You and I are going to have a date. Now, if she's attracted sufficiently, she will smile and agree. She'll say, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, I like that idea. Oh, I'd love to go on a date with you. Now, guys, if you've gotten this far, congratulations. I know it's not easy. It takes a degree of confidence that you may not be used to having because you've been married for a long time. You're out of the dating game. You don't understand exactly what women respond to anymore. And as women get older, and they're post-divorce as well, they change qualitatively. Now, they're going to be looking for confidence. Women respond positively to masculine confidence. And when you state the date and not ask for it, you're showing confidence. I'm enjoying this conversation. You and I are going to have a date. The decision is taken out of her is taken off her shoulders. She doesn't have to eye you up and down. Now, that's a very confident maneuver on your part, guys. It really, truly is. Okay, so you've gotten that far. Again, congratulations. Now, in the beginning, before you get practice, some women may balk at that. They may say, no, I don't think that's a good idea, or I've got a boyfriend, or whatever the case may be. She'll come up with some excuse. Listen, honor that excuse. If you're in your 20s, just keep plowing ahead and try to convince her. But you're in your 40s and your 50s. If she's showing that level of hesitation when you state the date, just say, oh, that's okay. And just let it go. Talk about something else. Change the conversation. Stop buying her drinks. You shouldn't have been buying her drinks to begin with, thank you very much. Now, if she does agree, there's an additional burden on the guy. Women like, and I've read it in the profiles a lot, they like a man with a plan. So guys, you should have date options already lined up. Here's a homework assignment. Find out a dozen things to do in your area that are relatively inexpensive. They don't require a lot of planning, but can still be a lot of fun. Now, that does not mean dinner and a movie. Guys, if you want dinner and a movie as a first date, you're not ready for dating. Dinner and a movie on the first date is the worst possible first date ever. Number one, you don't know this woman particularly well, and you're gonna be shelling out for dinner, and believe me, I know what your instincts are. You're gonna try to impress her with a fancy meal. Don't do that on a first date. Impress her later. And a movie, you're sitting there for an hour and a half, you can't talk. And she's gonna wanna go see a romantic comedy. Oh, hate romantic comedies. That's just emotional pornography. So what you want for a first date is you wanna do something like, and my go-to is ice cream. Let's go for ice cream. Coffee date, there's a cliche and a half. I would shy away from that. Here in South Florida, we have fishing piers. Let's go walk on the pier. It's a chance for you and her to establish if there's sufficient chemistry, that there might be a romantic attachment, there might be something special between you two. It doesn't matter. It matters that you have a chance at least to spend a little bit of time together, and she has your undivided attention and you have her undivided attention. That, by the way, is why a movie sucks. Save that for the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh date. Hell, save that for when you get married. Dinner and a movie is terrible. So you need to have a list. Even before you pitch the idea of a date, you need to have a list of options. So there's your homework. Sit down, and believe me, every municipality is going to have a website or a listing of websites or various events. Could be an art show, show some sophistication. It could be a car show. You'd be surprised how many women are into cars. It could be something where there is something to distract your attention if necessary, so that there's no awkward pauses. You can say, oh, well, that's a fine piece of art, or that's a fine classic car, whatever the case might be. Or are you enjoying the ice cream? And if she's lactose intolerant, which, by the way, at our age, guys, be prepared for that. Maybe she's having sherbet. Anyway, so you've got this activity, and it's not that expensive, because remember, you don't know this person very well. You don't want to be throwing down a lot of money for like a concert ticket. By the way, concerts are the worst dates ever. They're loud, they're screaming, and the women are looking at the guys up on stage going, I want that guy. I don't want the guy I'm standing next to. Okay, but there's the key. You don't ask for a date, you state the date. Okay, so you go on the date, keep the conversation light, ask her open-ended questions, don't talk too much about your job. Now, if she's grilling you about your job and what you drive and the kind of house you own, take that as a red flag. Because what she's doing is she's looking for a potential provider. I understand why she does that, but guys, don't fall into that trap. You want her to like her for what you are, not what you can provide. And that's key. That's very, very important. Yes, women look for security, and they're looking at you for that security. But you want her to respond to your personality, your confidence, your charisma. A lot of guys call that being alpha. I'm not a big believer in the alpha beta kind of thing. It's the continuum from unattractive to attractive. So you have a nice light conversation. Look for the body language. And again, check those links, and I'll put it up again. So you check for the body language to see if she's interested. If you determine a lot of interest, you can be really bold and say, this is a really, really good first date. I'm going to kiss you at the end of this date. I've done that, and it's worked. Not all the time, mind you, but I've tried to read body language. I've tried to read various responses. You know, a happy hour, drinks are pretty good. Don't get drunk, and watch out for how much she drinks. But you know, a couple of drinks kind of loosens people up. If the conversation's going well, maybe you can get an appetizer, so you can feed her. Ooh, let me rephrase that. So she can have something to eat. And these are all great first idea sort of things. Now you've got to get in with the flow. You've got to be, dress a little, dress pretty well. Don't dress like a schlub. Stand up straight. Don't monopolize the conversation by being a blowhard. And again, ask her open-ended questions. One of the greatest questions is, how do you feel about something? Because women feel. They're big on emotions. And if you ask her that, and if you don't talk about yourself too much, she's going to think you're a brilliant conversationalist, and she's going to think this is the greatest date ever. Now, some red flags to look out for. If she can only talk about herself and she's talking about an ex in a bad way or even a good way, that's a red flag. And for guys, if you feel compelled to talk about an ex in any way, shape, or form, you are not ready for dating. You have to get past that. I've heard too many horror stories from women where the guy shows up and he literally he actually breaks into tears talking about his ex. Your date does not give a rat's patootie about your past. Dating is about the present and the future, and that's it. Now, if she's complaining about an ex and talking about how she got screwed over in divorce court, or how about the child custody is not working out and all the terrible things that he's done, she's not ready for dating either. Now, if you're really paranoid about a potential date, have a bailout call arranged. Have a friend call you 10 minutes into the date, warn the date in advance. Look, I've make up some emergency at work. I might be getting a call from work and there might be an emergency. The guy calls and he'll ask you, so is it going okay? And if you say yes, he'll say, okay, no big deal, hangs up the phone and you're done. If you say, no, is there a problem at work? And the guy will say, okay, here's what you do. I'm gonna bail you out. Tell her there's an emergency at work. And then you hang up, you tell the woman, I'm sorry, I've really got to deal with this. It's been a great time. You pay the bill, or you've already paid for the ice cream, and you take your leave, and you never speak to her again. Okay, that's a little extreme. Women do this, by the way, so there's no reason why a man can't do this. Okay, let's say it's the end of the date, and you're standing close to each other. Don't hold hands. Have her take your arm as you walk her to her car, or to the bus, or to the subway, or wait for the Uber, whatever. I don't believe in holding hands on a first date, but for her to take your arm is a much better gesture. Offer your arm out. Say, take my arm, I'll walk you to your car. If you're close and you sense that you can go in for a kiss on the mouth, not tongues yet, it's a first date, chill out. Give her a kiss on the lips. Linger a little bit. And then say, I think we're gonna have a second date. Not, would you like a second date? State it. I think we're going to have a second date. I'll text you. Texting is good in this regard. You've already established a communication. You don't want to be yakking on the phone all the time. Look, we're in our 40s and 50s. We're busy. We don't have an hour and a half to spend yakking on the phone. Save that for an actual date. So, maybe later on that evening, text her, I hope you got home safely. I'll set up the second date. Remember, it's the man's job to set up the dates. I don't care about this equality nonsense. I don't care about, oh my God, everybody's equal. Everybody has to change the dating pattern. No, it's the man's job. Is it sexist? I don't care. A man has to do these things. The man's got the plan for the dates. So let's review a little bit. Don't ask for a date, state the date. I'm enjoying this conversation. You and I are going to have a date. And that is a great line to use. Now, prerequisites. You need to be face-to-face or on the phone. Don't do this electronically. Electronic communications is a barrier to understanding nuance and subtleties and body language and facial expressions and blinking or winking. There's so many things that are lost when you strictly deal with electronic communication. I understand that, especially as the prelude to the first date. You should be looking her in the eyes, or you should be talking on the phone when you state the date. Simple as that. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. Now, again, I have a Patreon, which is a way of helping me financially with these video podcasts and my blog. There's also a donate button on my blog. please use it. It is very, very helpful, and it really does give me incentive. I'm toying with the idea of doing some Skype one-on-ones with people who are interested. Yes, I would expect a donation for that, probably at least $40 to $50. I'll see how that goes. I've done it in the past, in the last couple of years, and it was okay. But now that I'm doing the video stuff, people can actually see me, and they can see how I speak, and they can see, my facial expressions, my eye, not eyes, eye. So there's more comfort. And so if you're interested, write me up, send me an email. I am emailtheprivateman@gmail.com. Drop me an email, or you can put a comment either on my blog or on the YouTube. I've opened up the YouTube for all comments. And I'm very much enjoying this. There will be more in the future. I will be mixing it up in terms of format, in terms of various content. Some will be personal. I do want to have a tour of where I live, which is in lovely Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida. Again, stand by for more. This is only number 3. I hope to have a lot of these in the coming months and years. I'm enjoying it. I'll probably get more sophisticated equipment. I might even get some people to help. I'll have more sophisticated editing. But I want to be able to have the audio stand out on its own. So if you want to listen to it work, make it like a regular audio podcast, it'll be a lot of fun. I thank you for watching. Stand by for more, and it's been fun. Thank you.